Hello my fellow pen enthusiasts. I've got another pen review here for you, and today we're going to take a look at the Fuliwen 017. I apologize, it's been a while since I've uploaded a video. I've been having to travel quite a bit for my work, and so I really haven't had a chance to upload a video. So I've got a few pens that are backlogged at this point, and so I'll be working on videos over the next few days. But this pen here I've had now for a little over a month, and there are three different colors available. There's a purple that actually is somewhat similar in color to the kind of purple pieces that you see inside of this pen. And then there is, I think it's called the Starry Night, that it's mostly a blue background, but it has a lot of other colors in it, reds, darker colors, all sorts of yellow, very attractive pen. And then there's this blue one that you see here, which I rather liked. So this is the one I picked. Now, I did order this pen off of Bobby Pins, or from Bobby Pins, on his AliExpress store. And I ordered it with two of the metal clips. I had a silver one, the snake clips, as well as a gold one. And I'll talk about the clips a little bit later on in the video, but we'll focus on the pen first. So this is definitely a minimalistic design. I think it's very understated, but in a good way. It really just allows the material, meaning that acrylic, really do the talking for the pen from an aesthetic viewpoint, and I rather like that. Of course, you know, nice cigar shaped pen with the rounded ends. No, not really a pointed end necessarily, but rounded ends on the ends. I think you'll notice it does have a taper design to it. So, you know, right here in the middle is going to be your largest point, and then it tapers down towards the end of the barrel, as well as just slightly towards the end of the cap. Now, you'll notice that we have a step down here on the cap going to the barrel. So, you know, I actually kind of like that design. Generally, you have a step down here. It's not going to be as significant of a step down when you uncap the pen. So, give you a little bit of a close-up on the material, just very attractive. Lots of depth. You can kind of see some purple in there. Different shades of blue. I just think it looks very pretty. Kind of see the end there. Flip it over. Allow you to kind of see that side. And again, just a very, very attractive pen. Now, as far as uncapping it goes, there's one full turn, two full turns. We're at a half. So just barely over 2.5 turns. Let's say about 2 2/3 turns. So, you know, it does take a while to uncap the pen. Section, of course, is the same exact color. Now, there is a step down here, but it's not a sharp step down by any means. The threads feel nice. They're not sharp. They don't cut into you. But the section is, you know, there's quite a bit of surface area from the step down to the end of the section. So, as far as comfortability goes, it is comfortable to hold, in my opinion. This section does taper down towards the end and then flare back out. But again, I think it's, you know, from a girth perspective, as far as comfort goes, I think it feels really nice in the hand. I don't find there to be any issue whatsoever. As far as posting, this pen can post. So if you're someone that likes to post your pen, it posts deeply and securely. You can kind of see how it fits in my hand there. And I think it definitely is a pen that is easily postable. Give you a little bit of a close-up to that section again. And then let's look at the nib. So this is the actual nib here. So we have a Fuliwen medium nib. Not much to see there, but it is a medium, which I think is kind of nice. Fuliwen is, they definitely have, I've seen a lot of their pens with medium nibs, so definitely nice that you get this nib with this pen. And then of course you see that stamp feed on the back, very similar to a lot of different pens. You know, Moonman has their stamp feeds, Jinhao, all of those. So, you know, just a basic plastic feed there. And then unscrewing the barrel, we'll see that we have our converter here set up. It does of course come with a converter. Now you'll notice we have this metal piece here. That metal piece does unscrew, just FYI, very similar to like the LIY fountain pen. I know some people aren't crazy about this design. I would say that's probably, you know, the one knock so far on the pen is just the fact that it has this piece here. I don't mind it whatsoever. I don't mind it on my LIY. I don't really eye drop any of my pens. If you do, It might be something that you know, you may not like about the pen. Of course, here we have just the regular acrylic threads there, and here we can kind of see on the inside portions of the barrel, see the threads there. The barrel, you know, feels good, has some you know, somewhat substantial, feels nice, no complaints there. And then on the inside, let me grab my bore light so you can kind of see the inside portions of our cap here. So there's no actual inner cap liner in there. A good thing is there's no metal in there either, and I haven't had any issues with the nib drying up. You know, it's a little over 2.5 turns, so there's no, you know, issues as far as the nib drying up or anything like that. Kind of turn that light off. You can see there's some transparent properties to this. I'm not going to turn all my lights off, but it definitely looks nice. And of course, you don't see that inner cap liner because there is none. So in essence, that is the pen. I think it's, you know, so far I would say it's a very attractive pen. Let's talk about the clips just real quick. So, and I call them clips. To me, they're not really clips per se, because they're not something. They're more there for an aesthetic viewpoint. They're not really there from a functionality perspective. So here's your clip. They are pliable. They're easy to move, make bigger. So you can use these. They're versatile. You can use them with other pens. They bend really easily, as you can kind of see, hopefully on the video here. The one thing I'm not crazy about them, and this is probably the one knock I have on the clips specifically, is if I am putting my pen, say, inside of one of my carrying cases, like this one that I have here, I have to take the clip off because it just doesn't fit in there very well. And I've had issues where the clip will then push around, and I've actually scratched the actual cap to my pen a little bit. And I'll see if I can find, I don't know if you can see it. There's a little bit of a scratch there. It's not extremely noticeable. I mean, if you're just looking at it, there's another scratch. So, and part of that might just be me. Part of it might be that I had this, you know, too tight or too loose, and I wound up scratching it. So that would be my one issue. I think from an aesthetic perspective, these are really cool looking. They're attractive. I don't know how much use I'll put them through. They were, again, $5, not a huge investment whatsoever. And, you know, occasionally I'll put it on there, especially if I'm not going to be putting my pen inside of a carrying case, or if I just have it on my desk. These are kind of nice. And they also work to kind of help as a roll stop as well. So they do have, I guess, that functionality. Additionally, as far as what I received with the pen, Bobby did send me an extra nib. I haven't used this nib yet, so I may pop it into the pen towards the end of the video during the writing sample, just so everyone can see the nib and see how this nib performs. I have seen a couple other people, whether it be through social media, such on Instagram, that have gotten this pen from Bobby, and they also received one of these nibs as well. So I think he, at least based off of probably what he has available, has been sending them out to people. So up next, we will do, of course, some sizing comparisons with some other pens, just to kind of get an idea from the way the pen looks from just an overall size dimension, as well as what it looks like when it's uncapped and posted. And then, of course, we'll put dimensions up on the screen and then the writing sample at the end. See you in a moment. So here are the 4 pins that I have chosen, or I guess the 3 pins that I have chosen for the sizing comparison. And of course, I went ahead and put the Pilot Metropolitan in here because I know this is a pen that a lot of people will own, just to give you a better sizing comparison. And then we've got an LIY. This is the LIY Shiwu. I feel like it kind of fits into this category. I will also talk about pricing, mainly between these 3 pens, just to give a perspective from pricing. And then we have the Moonman C1 here. And then, of course, down at the bottom, the Fuliwen 017. So, of course, these 3 are all, you know, decent sized pens from a girth perspective as well as overall length. The LIY to me is somewhat larger as far as overall size between these pens here. And of course, Pilot Metropolitan is going to be the smallest out of the 4 pens. So up next, I will actually show these pens in their uncapped form, kind of give an idea of what the sections look like, and talk a little bit also about which ones I enjoy writing with the most. All right, so here we see all 4 pins uncapped, and these 2 pins here in the middle, so the LIY and the Moonman, neither one of which posts. So these pins are not really designed to post. They are very comfortable though, however, to write with unposted I have no issues or any complaints whatsoever. Now we see really 4 different sections here, totally different sections in my opinion. I would say these two somewhat similar overall, but they still feel different in my opinion as far as writing goes. So here, of course, we have that step down here with our Fuliwen. We have a section that just tapers down to the end and flares out. This one, our Moonman C1, has a little bit more of an hourglass shaped section. There's a significant step down here. However, it does not impact the writing experience whatsoever because there's just so much space from the step down to the end of the section. And then again here, we have a slighter step down on our LIY, which I actually enjoy. And again, more of an elongated section. So it's, again, I think a pretty comfortable pen to write with. And then here we have our Pilot Metropolitan, somewhat of a step down here. It's nice and contoured though, but the section does taper down and to me gets a little too skinny. It's not the most comfortable pen to write with, just in my opinion. As far as, which sections I enjoy the most out of these pens, I would say the Moonman C1 is definitely one that I really like to write with, but I really have no issues, complaints, or anything about writing with any one of these 3 pens. I think they're all comfortable, and I enjoy the writing experiences with all 3 for different reasons. Now, getting an up-close look on the nibs are all somewhat similar. They're, with the exception of the Pilot, the 3 on the left are definitely about number 6 size nibs. Of course, we have our Fuliwen nib medium here. We have the Moonman nib here, which is basically a number 6 size nib, very similar. And then this one comes with a Schmidt nib. However, I've changed it out for a Jowo nib. This is a fine nib that's in here right now, and it's a nice writing experience. All 3 of the Chinese pens are inked up currently right now. This one's been inked up since I got it, so definitely one of my favorite pens to write with, meaning the Moonman C1. Now from a posting perspective, I'll just go ahead and roll into that. Of course, the other 2 don't. Just to give you a perspective and overall size between the Pilot Metropolitan and the Fuliwen, if you're somebody that really has to post your pen, you can tell that the Fuliwen's larger, but in overall length, of course, as well as girth. But I think it's well balanced. I don't really feel like it's back heavy, especially when the clip's off and that clip's not even really heavy. It feels comfortable. I don't have to write with this pen posted by any means, but it does feel comfortable when you're writing with it posted. So I have no complaints there whatsoever. All right, so up next, I will post some writing dimensions, some dimensions up on the screen for you. And then of course, we will do a writing sample to see how that nib and everything performs. All right, so here we are back for our writing sample, and we'll get that started. The ink that I'm using, I'm about 99.9% sure I inked this up a while back, but it is a Roshizuku Konpeki, if I'm not mistaken. Probably one of my favorite blue inks, if not my most favorite. So this again is the Fuliwen 017. This comes with a medium nib. So there you kind of see a nice writing sample. So I think, line width and everything is really pretty solid on this nib. I rather enjoy the overall line width with this. Definitely not something you're gonna get like a tremendous amount of line variation, but it's not as stiff now. I mean, it definitely, I think works well. Puts down a decent amount of ink. Over, I will say one knock on the nib, over a prolonged writing experience, and it might not be so much the nib as much as it is the feed, it will dry out just a little bit, and occasionally I will get a skip. It's not a tremendous issue, but it can happen. So there you kind of see a wetness test. You can also see, like, so granted I put down more pressure, but that ink hasn't completely dried there. So with a little bit more pressure, you can definitely lay down more ink. But overall, the nib performs pretty well. Reverse writing. Help if I get it on the screen. Not perfect. A little bit of skipping. But there you can kind of see it with reverse writing for somebody who likes to do that. Fast writing. A little bit of a skip there. That might have been me there. Again, a little bit of a skip. And this would probably be the one knock on, whether it be the feed or the nib here. I have done absolutely no work on the nib at all. I have not polished it or anything. I will say that it's pretty darn smooth. So I don't have any issues whatsoever from that perspective either. It's pretty nice and smooth. So pricing. So that'll be the next thing we'll talk about before I get into any type of rating or anything like that. So from a pricing perspective, this pen, you know, is going to cost you, there's a lot of different sellers out there that have this pen available right now. A lot of them right now I see on eBay are around the $25 to $30 mark. Bear in mind that, you know, the price is going to be impacted if you get it with the clip option or without the clip option. But I've also seen it under the $20 mark in some places. I would definitely tell you to shop around. Don't just look on eBay. Check out Etsy, check out AliExpress, and really shop around and try and get you a good deal. Again, I bought mine from Bobby Pins, but there are other sellers available as well. I've always had pretty, you know, really solid experiences with Bobby Pins. I have no complaints whatsoever from that perspective. I'm gonna, just for the sake, just to see this nib in action, I'm going to, off camera, take the Fuliwen medium nib out, kind of prime the feed just a little bit and see how well this nib writes, and then I'll do my ratings at the very end. So I figured I would take advantage, since I am taking this apart, and just kind of show what I was talking about earlier. So here's that metal collar, and really, so you'll notice it has threads here. It fits down, I hope if I get it on the right side. So it fits down inside of there, and then of course we have our actual housing here, and then that would screw into that metal collar. So if we didn't have the section here, I could literally just screw this together like so, and there you see it. So that's just kind of the one thing, you know, I know some people I don't think are too crazy about that. I've even heard some people say it's kind of a lazy design, but that's just kind of the way that they've, you know, done this. It does add some weight towards the nib. When you've got a pen that has like no metal on it whatsoever, it does add some weight down towards the nib. To me, I would be fine either way. Again, I don't eyedropper my pens at all, so I don't have an issue with it either way. But I did want to show that real quick. All right, so I've just put our new nib in. I haven't even reassembled the converter yet, or the actual pen all the way. So I haven't, of course, dipped this in any ink or anything, so I probably should have primed that nib before I did that, or primed the feed a little bit, because I just took all that out. So I'm going to do real quick, just to kind of get some ink flowing down there. See how that does. There we go. All right, so let's see how this nib writes, since this is a nib that was sent to me. Kind of come back up here. So here we see that up there. Definitely writes well. I would say this is a little bit more on the fine side, but it's really not bad. So the nib, I think this nib definitely, if you don't like the medium nib that comes with the pen, and you happen to get this one, you can kind of tell there's a little bit more feedback there. It's not quite as smooth, but I actually don't mind that whatsoever. All right, so now let's do the rating, and I'm gonna have to kind of move my camera a little bit because my notepad is hitting the tripod, so I apologize. So let's talk about rating now. So we'll first talk about the design. And for me, for a design perspective, I give this pen a 4.5. I like the design. It's very understated, but I love the acrylic material. I think it's a nice design. I think it looks good. So I give the pen a 4.5 from a design perspective. As far as writing experience, I give it a 4. This section is very comfortable, very nice. I give it a little bit of a knock for the feed being, in my opinion, a little bit inconsistent in those occasional skips that I'll have. They're usually few and far between, but if I'm writing fast, as you could tell before, we'd get an occasional skip, and for prolonged periods of writing, I would occasionally get a skip here and there. So that's why I give the writing experience a 4. Not extremely frustrating from my perspective, but so it definitely doesn't warrant, you know, being a 3 or a 3.5, but I would give it a 4. Build quality. Would help if I could spell. So build quality for me, this is tough. I'm going to go with a 5. And the reason why is the pen feels very robust. I think it feels nice. I think it feels more expensive than what it actually is. So I paid around $20 for mine, and you know, it feels robust. It feels nice in the hand. It's not overly heavy. It's not overly light. I feel like the materials are well made. It's machined nicely. The threads feel great. Everything works very well. I really like the build quality on the pen. To me, it feels more expensive than it actually is. To give you perspective, that LIY Shiwu, which I know some people don't like that price point that pen is at. It's like usually anywhere between the high 70s, even sometimes $90. I like that pen. And, you know, I'm not going to give a knock on the build quality for that metal piece in here. I actually don't mind it whatsoever. And it works. And to me, that's the most important thing. Does it work? So I'm giving it a 5. I really, really like the build quality. From a wow perspective, this is just really how the pen makes me feel, how well I enjoy using it. I'm giving it a 4.5. I love the material. It's gorgeous, gorgeous material. I enjoy writing with it. I would give it even a higher rating than a 4.5, but I do give it a little bit of a knock for the writing experience. And then my overall rating for this pen, so overall, I give it a 4.5. So very close. I think this is an excellent, excellent pen. Whether you pay $20 for it or you pay $30 for it, I think it's a great pen to have. I really like it. I actually like this nib that it came with. This is a nice, nice nib. It writes well, and I like the little bit of feedback that it gives me. So there you have it. So I definitely think this is a good pen to add to your arsenal if you haven't already. I would highly, highly recommend it. Again, there are 3 different colors. There are tons of sellers out there that have it available right now. So shop around, get you a good deal, and I think you'll definitely enjoy the fountain pen, or at least I hope that you will. So that concludes this video. For my next video, I am probably going to be reviewing, I do have, I'm not going to show it in the video yet, but I do have a Wingsung 601A with the gold cap. It's a really attractive pen, so I'll be reviewing that pen next for my next video. And then I have a surprise pen upcoming in probably a couple of videos that I'm not going to talk about or share at all yet. So until next time, I hope all of you out there are doing well. I will see all of you later. Bye-bye.